You want to know one of the fastest ways to escalate a sensitive child? One thing I've noticed, especially those of us homeschooling sensitive kiddos, is that many of our children experience the world very differently than we do. And what seems really small to us can feel enormous to them. And when we don't understand that, it's easy to accidentally make a hard moment even harder. I'm Amy, a formal special educator turned homeschool mom, and I help homeschool parents of kids with big behaviors understand what's really driving those behaviors so they can have calmer days and more cooperation at home without bribery, punishment, or yelling. Years ago, I had a student who felt everything very deeply. If someone cut in line, if he thought someone was being unkind, if he felt left out, or even if he perceived something was unfair, it could affect him for hours. Sometimes he would mope, or he would cry, and sometimes he would seem fine for a while, only to get upset about the same thing over and over again throughout the day. And at the time, another teacher was really struggling with him, and she was so overwhelmed and honestly didn't know what to do. So we ended up switching students. She took one of my easier students, and I took him. And one of the first things I noticed was that everyone was trying to help him move on before he felt understood. Adults would explain why it wasn't a big deal. They'd tell him everything was okay. They'd encourage him to let it go and focus on something else. And while all those responses were well-intentioned, they completely missed what that child actually needed. What he needed was someone who could acknowledge that whether the problem seemed big or small to everyone else, it felt really big to him. So instead of trying to talk him out of his experience, I started by acknowledging it. I would help him put words to what he was feeling, and I'd let him know I could see why he was upset. I'd make sure he felt understood before we worried about solving any problems. And that changed everything. Not because his feelings suddenly disappeared, and not because I removed accountability or let him out of responsibility. It was because once he felt understood, he was no longer spending all of his energy trying to prove that his experience mattered. And only then could we actually move forward. I think this is where a lot of parents get stuck. They're afraid that if they acknowledge a child's feelings, they are somehow giving in or becoming permissive. But understanding a child and agreeing with a child are two completely different things. For many of our extra sensitive kids, feeling understood isn't the end goal, it is the first step. It is what helps them become regulated enough to listen, learn, and then problem solve, and even take responsibility for their actions. And honestly, I've found that children who feel dismissed often stay stuck way longer than children who feel understood. If you're homeschooling a child with big behaviors and you're trying to understand what's going on under there, follow along for more support and share this with another homeschool family who needs it.